Why are we frightened to stop drinking? What is it? Why do we keep going back to it? It's still confusing me now, even though I've been on and off for years. And this is my last attempt. And it's worked so far. Nearly 6 years. And basically I can't drink, otherwise I'll die. That's the way it was put to me last time in 2019. Why can't we stop drinking? Why do people drink after a liver transplant? Nobody's explained this properly to me. Even a liver transplant surgeon who I spoke to. I mean, I never had a liver transplant, thank goodness, but I spoke to him when I was in hospital. I was in the hospital about two years on and off. I spent a lot of time in hospital. All 5 major hospitals in the northeast I spent time in had bed and breakfast in them all. So I was in for weeks and weeks, months even. It was never explained to me why can't we stop, even after we've had surgery, even after we've been ill, even after some of us had a transplant, where there's, a very low percentage in some cases of the liver working properly. The power of addiction. It's incredibly strong. Is it because we're led to believe it was good for us when we were younger? Is it because we miss out on something? Because I know for a fact, the last 10 years of my drinking, I didn't enjoy one drink. Not one did I get any buzz. Not one did I feel better. Not one did I think, wow, I really enjoyed that drink. I hated every minute of it. But I felt I had to do it to keep me alive. And every time you come on and off, it's worse, as I said before, it's a kindling effect. And somebody explained last night on a live, this is a very good point, you must take note of this. When you've been sober and you relapse again a number of times, and I wondered why after 8 years I was straight back on it and I couldn't get off it again. Your brain skips the hangover and goes straight to withdrawal. So your first relapse, you might just have a hangover and you maybe get off it again. But when you get to the point of being off for years and years and years and suddenly have 1 or 2, and by the end of the week you're drinking full time again, it's like, it hits you like a train. And it skips with hangover, it skips the not feeling particularly well, it skips the dry throat and nausea, it goes straight to withdrawal, the shakes, the anxiety, the sweats, the panic attacks, it goes straight into that. So remember that, it skips the hangover, goes straight to withdrawal. It's very acute. And so we start to drink, some of us start to drink when we're physically dependent on it to try and get rid of that pain. But in general, why can't we stop? Social pressure? I mean, I want some comments on this because I'd like to discuss it further. But I couldn't stop. I was told to stop when I was late 20s, early 30s by the doctors. I thought I knew better. I thought, I don't want to stop, I wasn't ready to stop. And I've had a few things done to me, as in hospital, a couple of procedures, and I had a couple of seizures in there, and I had a couple of procedures, I had a ascites fluid drained off a number of times, an umbilical hernia repair, I had low sodium, I had an operation for that, all these things. And even after all that pain and trauma and all the rest of it, I still thought to myself, I wonder if I can have just one. That's the thing, it's a magic thing, isn't it? It pops in my head, I wonder if I'll just have one. That's what you've got to avoid. And that's the hardest part. 95% of people who want to stop drinking can stop reasonably well, reasonably easy. 5% of us are physically dependent, we must get some medical help. And I didn't get the medical help, and I had seizures. And I had diazepam a couple of times, and then after that I couldn't get any diazepam, and as the story goes, as you probably know by now, if you're regular here, I could not stop drinking because of fear of having more withdrawals, right? But it's still in my head, I wonder what it's like to have just one. But I've got to fight that every day. I've got too much to lose. So if you find yourself stopping and starting and going straight from being sober to being, wow, I need some more drink within a couple of days, you've got a real problem. You're at the end then, because you can't control it. You can't control, there's no desire to drink for the pleasure, there's a necessity to drink. It becomes your medicine. And it becomes a need, and you have to use it to self-medicate because there's no other way out. Unless you go to these detox centres and rehabs, I couldn't afford them. Even the rehab places though, they've got quite a high failure rate. I was speaking to somebody the other day who'd been to a very expensive one down in Berkshire somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is, they're all the same. Very pleasant apparently, a bit of table tennis, some nice food, nice hotel type bed, 5-star surroundings, people talk to each other, there's books to read, there's music to listen to. It just seems like a bit of a holiday to me. I don't think anybody spoke to this girl and said, listen, if you don't stop this, you're going to die. And that's the only way that you learn. And I do one-to-one support, and I tell people how to flick that switch. You need to flick that switch from thinking it's going to do you some good to some it's going to do you harm. But I'll go into that in more detail on these one-to-ones. And there's a link in the description of the video. Now, you have to fight this every day. And to get off the drink and stay off the drink, getting off the drink is quite easy for a lot of people, but staying off it is virtually impossible for most. And to stay off it is a constant fight in your mind. And then it's all up here. Once you're off it, it's all in there, right? Because when you're off it, you're not physically dependent anymore. If you just have that first one, and you've got an alcohol use disorder problem, or you're an alcoholic, as I like to call it, then you have to switch the flick the switch to say, no, this is not going to be doing me any good. And as one of my regulars described it, play the tape forward. If I have a drink today, I know that by Saturday I'll be drinking full time again. My girlfriend would have left me, my mother wouldn't speak to me, my daughter probably wouldn't speak to me. The benefit of 1 or 2 drinks for a couple of hours, a bit of relax, we think you're going to get a bit really relaxed, you don't get any relax, is multiple pain, all right? Don't think of alcohol as a reward. Think of it as a punishment, because it'll wrap you up and throw you back in prison again. And you're not free. I am free now. I can do what I want within reason. I can go for a walk. I can go to a cup of tea. I can pick my partner up. I can do things, normal things. I couldn't do anything normal when I was in the throes of alcoholism, heavy drinking. I couldn't do anything normal. Even heavy drinking, I couldn't do any normal. Before I got to the stage 4 or 5 of being an alcoholic, full-on, full-time drinking, top of drinking. Even when I was a moderate drinker, I couldn't do everything that was needed. I couldn't show up at work bang on all the time. People started to take sick leave. People started to extend their annual leave. People start to change their patterns of behaviour to suit the drinking. Maybe you can't go to this certain function because there's no alcohol there. Maybe you don't want to go to a museum. Maybe you don't want to go to B&Q. None of us want to go there really, but do you understand the logic on this one? We tend to plan our lives around areas where there's alcohol. And you go to a wedding and in addition to all this champagne, orange juice, carry on, all you want to do is get to the bar and get a proper drink, isn't it? Get a few pints. I'll never forget a wedding we went to when I was in the police. This guy called Ian, good friend of mine. I'm sick of this, drinking these stupid little bloody orange things. He said, let's get to the bar and get some proper drinking done. That's all I went to the wedding for. It wasn't to see any bride and groom. It was just for a lad's day out, really. We did that often in the West End of London, just to get drunk. What we thought was having a good time. And a lot of the guys I used to work with are disabled and some have passed away because of it. There's no good time going on. So you've got to remember, your health is your wealth. And if you can't keep off it, you're going to die 20 years younger than the general population, right? So when you start to get this feeling of, wow, I'm back on it straight away and I can't get off again, you're in real trouble. You've got to put the brakes on then and seek some help. Because I didn't seek any help for years. And it nearly passed away. It nearly took my life. It took everything else from me. And it can rob you of everything. The destruction it causes is absolutely incredible. And if this was explained to me properly when I was younger, I would have given up. But it wasn't. The doctors didn't explain it properly. All she said to me was, cut down, stop, maybe. Cut down, cut down, cut down, cut down. Go to AA, no good. They've got to tell you, if you don't stop, you're going to die. A friend of mine was told that a month ago, and he went on the Guinness Zero, which I drink. He was drinking Guinness again yesterday. He was told he was going to die. He's a sensible guy, normally. The power of addiction. Be very careful with this stuff, very dangerous. You have to be alert and wise with it all the time. If you benefit from these videos, then please subscribe and like and subscribe and share them as well. If you want any help, there's a link in the description. I've got an ebook out as well, and I do lives at night. Join in that. If you want me to talk about any particular subject, then just drop me a line. And have a good rest of Wednesday, isn't it? Midweek already. I'll speak to you soon.